Well, hello, everyone. Coach Elise and I are here today, and we are so happy you're here. If you could just put in the chat that you see us and we are live, we have a very robust program today talking about the truth. You know, John says, I have no greater joy, or God has no greater joy than seeing his people walk in the truth. Mm-hmm. Jesus says, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to press pause, and I'm just going to make sure we've got people here. So if you could put a comment in the feed, that will help me to know we are live before I continue on, so that I don't have to repeat myself over and over again. Mm-hmm. If you are here, let us know. We would be so happy to say hi back. Happy Thanksgiving. So I'm going to take a swig of my coffee. Okay, Abigail, thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving to you and to all others. Thank you, Arlene, for letting us know that you're here. So today we're going to be talking about the truth. Jesus cares about the truth. He says, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. That he wants us to walk in the truth. He wants us to know the truth. And so Elise and I today are going to be talking about beliefs that we have that limit us. And the problem is that we don't think these things are lies. That's why we're calling them beliefs. But they are. Mm-hmm. They are lies. Mm-hmm. But we don't know they're lies. Mm-hmm. So if you believe that someone is your best friend, if you believe that, and they're cheating on you with your husband, but you don't know that, you're not living in the truth, right? You're making your story as if this is your best friend when in fact they're a betrayer. And so God wants you to know the truth so that you can walk in wholeness and life, not necessarily no pain, because sometimes the truth is painful. Mm-hmm. If I find out that I have a lump on my breast tomorrow and I go to the doctor and realize that it's breast cancer, that truth will be painful. But for me to have a belief that, oh, no, it's not cancer, it's probably just a cyst, I drink a lot of coffee, I'm not going to worry about it. If I have that belief, I might have a very different outcome to my story. And so we just want you to learn what are some common beliefs that women have that limit you because you think they're true when they may not be true, or they may not always be true. Mm-hmm. So, Elise, what do you have to say about just your experience in discovering your own beliefs that weren't true?
Yeah, well, one of the beliefs is I faced really with some frequency. And I actually said this on the last time I was on Facebook, which was last week, talking on the Conquer journey. At the very end, we had a little technical difficulty for me getting on. And it was, the second I can't get on, my hands are shaking, and, I go wild for a second, I just kind of lose my mind for a second. But I'm telling myself the whole time, I can't do this. I'm not good at technology. Oh my gosh. I mean, it works for everybody, but not for me. Right. And I say those things all the time. And so, Martha was so gracious to kind of walk me through, got us on, we went just fine. But it was that I can't, right? Belief. I can't. And I certainly can. Now, technology, it seems to be challenging for me. But one of the things that I realized, that my server wasn't working or something like that. And so I had to change it. And I had to make some changes around Facebook, wrote a note to Martha, said, hey, come Monday, will you help me work this out? Right. So I just happened to be, I don't know, I was working on my computer or something, and I just happened to YouTube, like how to blah, 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 blah. Step by step by step. I did it all by myself.
Yeah. We've had other women in Conquer who have realized that, that they had to fix a leaky toilet. They had to, figure out how to do something that they told themselves they couldn't.
They couldn't.
Lo and behold,
I did it all by myself. Now, do I think technology is challenging? I do. It's not, doesn't seem to be over favorable, but sometimes it's because I don't want to take the time to really lean into it and to learn it. I just kind of want everybody else to do it for me. Right. And so that's maybe a little lie I'm telling myself. It's like, the truth is I can do that. Do I want to? Maybe another subject for another time, but
yeah.
But
Studies show us that we're capable of doing actually 60%, even physically. Like when you get to the end of your rope physically,
right.
like you're climbing a mountain or you're, running, and you say, like, I run a half marathon, and around mile 10, I'm like, oh, I can't go another step. I can't do this.
Right.
And guess what? I did finish the marathon. And so studies now show us that you can do about 60% more, both cognitively as well as emotionally. Like, how many of you have ever said to yourself, I can never take that. I can't take it. I'll never get through this. And you got through it, right?
Right.
And so this belief that we can't shapes our story. And we're going to be doing a webinar in 2 weeks on December 7th on Tuesday called Change Your Story, Change Your Life. Instead of being a victim story, I can't, I'm helpless, we're going to move to an owner story. I can learn, I can grow, I can do this. Now, let me just tell you just in a quick way how this might change the outcome of your life story. So when I was 21 and I was finishing up my master's degree in social work, I had the opportunity to apply for a PhD program, but I told myself, oh no, I can't, even though I got straight A's through graduate program and straight A's pretty much through college, other than math, which is not my strong suit, but the rest of the college, I did pretty well. I told myself a lie that I can't write well enough to get a PhD. That's what I told myself. And I never challenged that. Nobody ever challenged me. I had some evidence in front of me that I probably could write. I never got you're a great writer on any of my papers, but I did well on my papers. But I had this belief that I couldn't write. So that changed my decision-making process professionally. I didn't go for my PhD, and God, had everything in mind anyway. But what I'm telling you is that sometimes we make a decision based on a belief that we have about ourselves. Like, I'm not worth anything. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. I'll never finish this. Whatever those beliefs are that you have that limit you. So I limited my education because of a belief I had. Right. And 20 years later, when God called me to write a book, I still had that belief. God, I can't write. Don't you remember? I told you 20 years ago, I can't write. I can't do this PhD. No, I can't write a book. And he said, yes, you can. With me, you can do that. And it was like, this is where the rubber meets the road. Am I going to walk believing God, or am I going to walk believing my own lies?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. I don't want to veer off too much, but the truth is we do live in limitations. We are not unlimited human beings. My talent does run out at a certain place. My resources can run out at a certain place. And so one of the things that I think that is so healthy that you help us with so often over and over again is walking in truth and reality. But I think where we're going today is so important, because are we telling ourselves a lie, or are we living in reality? And, I know you're a pickleball player. I'm a tennis player. And the truth is I will not play professional tennis play. One, my age, limits me, my strength limits me, my time limits me, my resources limit me. But I could stay very limited. I mean, it's possible I could be a much better tennis player. I don't think that I'll ever reach, professional status, but I could be a better tennis player. Now, what it takes, and do I have the resources? That's another challenge that we have to look at. But where are we just, if I can't be a tennis player, if I can't be a professional, then I won't play at all.
Yeah.
So that's where we get stuck sometimes.
Well, and I think that's really important, because God has given us certain gifts and abilities, and he's also put us in a body that has certain limitations.
Right.
So last night we watched football. I'm not a football fan, but my husband has really latched on to, what's his name? Tom Brady, because of his age and the abilities that he has at a 44-year-old age to still throw that ball so well. So he's got unnatural abilities to mentally as well as physically, but he also works really hard. Right. So I think that we have to understand, I'm never going to have the ability, and probably you aren't either, to be a brain surgeon, because I don't like all that technology. I don't like all that math, and I don't like, and so God didn't give me those desires to do. Right. But so we do have limitations. I can't stay up for 3 nights in a row, even if I tell myself I can. My body will just fall asleep. So I think there's things that we have to respect about the limitations we have. But I do think it's important for us to not put untrue limitations on our potential, on our value, on our worth. And so that's why it's so important that we go to God and say, God, what do you have me to do? Because, for example, when God called Gideon in Judges chapter 6 to be a warrior. Gideon was just a farmer at the time. He didn't feel any warrior blood growing in him at all. He said, I'm not a warrior. I'm just a little tiny farmer from the least tribe of Benjamin. And God said to Gideon, Gideon, you are. He didn't say, hey, Gideon, trust me, I'll make you a warrior. Or Gideon, someday you'll become a warrior. Even when he talked to Peter, he said, Peter, you are the rock. He didn't say you will become the rock. And he told him you are the rock when Peter was just a mess of a man. So there's certain things that God declares who we are. Like when he looks at the acorn, he says, you are the oak tree. When he looks at the caterpillar, he says, you are the butterfly. Now grow into that. And so that's our job, is to listen to God, to see who we are and begin to walk in it instead of saying, I can't, it's too hard, this isn't for me.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I think that that's really so often the drumbeat really of your ministry and what we're, when we're working with these women, because they really are up against a lot of I can'ts and, are constantly up against such great opposition. Right. And so after a while, they can really begin to think and believe, some of these untruths that are coming their way. And so one of the things that we work so hard in the groups and the one-on-one and E2C and, is really beginning to expose who has God created you to be? How we've been listening to, another voice that is not the voice of the Lord, not telling us that we can't, we're not enough. And, or I'm too shy, I'm too stupid. I can't, and on and on. And so, if you're involved in, kind of the ministry at all and E2C and the classes that you're going to hear this drumbeat so often, is that we want you to listen to and believe truth.
So if you started saying, I'm a bird and I can fly, we would say that's not who God made you to be. He didn't make you to be a slave. He didn't make you to be a doormat. He didn't make you to be a nothing, a nobody. He didn't make you for that. Right. Now, somebody might call you that, or somebody might treat you like that. Right. But that's not how you're made. Just like I could take a beautiful rose bush and I could throw it in the trash. I could take a beautiful diamond ring and flush it down the toilet, like one of my counseling clients did one day in a fit of rage. It didn't diminish the diamond. It was still a diamond. She just treated it stupidly, right? And so just because someone treats you poorly, my mother treated me poorly, other people in my life have treated me poorly. I'm sure you've had a few doses of mistreatment, and some of you have a whole marriage of mistreatment. Right. That does not define you. That is a moment or a time in your life where you can either be beaten down by it, or you can rise up like a phoenix and grow through it. And we want to teach you how to do that. Your marriage may not survive, but you can. Right. You can, if you take responsibility for you. And we start with our mind. So often we want to change our feelings. But let's just do something. Let's just do an experiment right now. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna just change the way we feel by changing our posture. All right. So probably most of you are sitting watching this. So I just want you to kind of get the cell phone posture. I just want you to get the cell phone posture, which is like this, right? This is the cell phone posture. And I want you to get into the cell phone posture and notice how you feel. Like you probably either feel blah or a little scrunched up in the middle, or you feel maybe even a little short of breath. And maybe you feel a little, maybe you've already felt a little down and you feel a little bit more down. Okay. So this is posture, and it's affecting your feelings. But I want you to, now I'm going to stand up straight, but I want you to stand up straight. You're not going to see me, but I'm going to put my hands in the victory position as if I just won a race. So I'm going to stand up, and studies show that people who are even blind, the Olympians who are blind and run a race, everybody, when they feel great, they put their hands in the air. And I want you to notice, just taking that one step of body change, how that affects your feelings inside. Right. Just putting a pencil in your teeth and forcing yourself to smile affects the way that you feel inside. So often when we go to therapy for years and years and years and years, and we're working on our emotions, like, want to feel better, want to feel better, we have two places to tackle that the best. One is our body. Get some sleep, eat right, exercise, use power poses, put the pencil in your tooth if you need to smile. And it will, if you stand there for 5 minutes with that way, you will feel better. It changes your body chemistry. Studies show that. Or You work on your mind. The Bible tells us that we are transformed through the renewing of our mind. And so if you are feeling anxious or depressed or worthless or hopeless, those emotions don't change unless you take some action. We wait for the circumstances to change. Oh, I want to feel better. I want to go buy something, or I want to have my husband love me, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. That may never happen. And so you have to take responsibility. So what kind of mind shifts do you need to make in order to feel better? And one is letting God speak to your heart and your mind. We are transformed. The Bible says not by paying attention to our emotions. I'm not saying don't pay attention to your emotions. Right. Your emotions are telling you something's wrong, but you fix those wrong emotions by paying attention to your thought life.
Right.
What am I telling myself? Here are 2 more limiting beliefs. I have about 10 of them here that I'm going to talk about today. How about this? If I believe life should be fair, if I believe like, this is so unfair, why me? Why is this happening to me? This shouldn't be happening because life should be fair, right? This isn't fair. Why am I the one who gets cancer? Why am I the one who doesn't have a great husband? Life should be fair. Now, sometimes we're not conscious of this belief, but we're angry that life isn't fair. But the truth is, life isn't fair. Right. I mean, I'm so thankful I'm born in America. What are you thankful for today? There's other countries I would not want to be born in. Why is that? Because I'm not special. Right. I was fortunate. Right? And so it's important for us to understand life isn't fair. Some people get more than others. Straight out the gate. Better family, better genes, more resources. It's not fair. But if we think life should be fair, then we're going to always feel angry and deprived and less than.
Mm-hmm. It's going to drive our behavior as well.
Yeah.
How we react to life. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So people are commenting, how the energy shifted when you took a power pose. Yes. Mm-hmm. These are things that you can do, that you can learn to do, to take better care of you. What would be different when your husband is scolding you or yelling at you or berating you and you're sitting like the cell phone pose? What would be different if you just stood up? And I'm not saying go like that, but I'm saying just put your back up straight. And you took a deep breath and you said, I am not who he says I am, even if you just say that in your head. What would be different about how you handled that situation, how you felt about yourself in that situation? It may not change a thing in your marriage,
right?
But it may change everything in you. Can you think of another limiting belief that we have? So life is not fair. So once we accept that life is not fair and we walk in that truth, we're not upset when life is not fair because it's not supposed to be fair. It's not created to be fair.
I'm not good enough.
I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough for what? I'm not good enough for what? So I'm going to give you an illustration because people tell me that my illustrations can be really helpful. So let's say you go into an ice cream store. Mm-hmm. So put in the chat, if you went into a 31 flavors, what ice cream would you pick? Put it in. And I'll tell you which one I would pick, and Elise will tell you which one she would pick. But if you've got 31 flavors, which one would you pick? All right, let me see what people put. I'm not seeing anything in the chat yet. So I would put anything chocolate. If it had coffee in it, I would pick that. If it had coffee and chocolate chips, I would pick that. Okay, so chocolate, cookie dough, chocolate mint chip. A lot of chocolate lovers here. Pralines and cream. Okay. All right, so we're getting different choices. What would you pick, Elise?
Mint chocolate chip.
Okay, so you would pick chocolate chip too?
Yeah, mint chocolate chip.
Mint chocolate chip. Okay, chocolate or pistachio. Okay, chocolate peanut butter. Janice, vanilla. You're a vanilla girl. I don't eat vanilla ice cream, but my grandchildren love vanilla ice cream, and I'm like, why would you eat that? Rum and raisin.
Chocolate.
All right. So if Janice went in and she picked vanilla, or if Sky went into the ice cream parlor and picked Rocky Road, what do you think all the other ice cream flavors are feeling? Are they feeling they're not good enough? Like, why wouldn't you pick me? What's wrong with me? I'm a good flavor. Why? Maybe I should try to be more vanilla. Maybe you'll pick me if I'm more vanilla. This, ladies, is how we do relationships. We do relationships. People are attracted to certain kind of people. If you are a healthy person, healthy people are attracted to you. When you're an unhealthy person, unhealthy people are attracted to you. right? It just works that way. You're attracted to unhealthy people too, because if you're an unhealthy person, you need someone to fix, or you need someone to fix you. You need someone to depend on, or you need someone to depend on you to be the hero, right? So when you're healthy, you're attracted to healthy people. When you're in a destructive marriage or you're in an unhealthy relationship and you keep feeling not good enough, that's not the truth. The truth is your job, he may not be a good fit for you, just like I might not go ever pick pistachio ice cream. I would never pick vanilla ice cream, not because vanilla is not good enough, because it's not my flavor. It's not what I want. And so when we do relationships, you want to make sure that you connect with people who you fit with, who really want what you have to offer. But if you are so busy as a woman believing this lie that me, Leslie, or me, Elise, or you, Sky or Janice, are not good enough as I am, so I have to be like ice cream. I have to be like vanilla ice cream. I have to be like pistachio ice cream. So then we fake it. We put on these false parts of ourselves to try to get someone to like us, to love us. And then we can't keep it up because that's not who we are. But we're not doing the work to develop who God made us to be. If an acorn tried to be a rose bush, it would fail. An acorn is supposed to be an oak tree. A sunflower will never be able to compete with a rose bush. That's not who it's made to be. Vanilla will never taste good as chocolate. It's vanilla. Your job as a creation of God, of a daughter of the King, is to be who God made you to be, not what your husband wants you to be.
Right.
What does that resonate? Death by chocolate, someone likes. I like that one too. What does that resonate? Yeah. What does that resonate with you? I'm to be what God calls me to be, what God made me to be. He put you as a tiny little embryo in your mother's womb. Just like the acorn he puts into the ground, just like the caterpillar he puts into the cocoon. What are you to become? Do you know? It's not just a wife and mom. What are you to become?
One of the things that got shared in our Walking in Core Strength class, it just so resonated with me as we were really talking about our big circle and those big circle words, as women were really beginning to identify, who they wanted to be and how they wanted to be in a relationship and, kind of their beliefs and values. One of the participants said, what are the words that God knitted in me? And it was just so beautiful. It was at that moment, like, ladies, are you aware of how, what are the strengths, the talents, the beliefs that God knit in you? And are you utilizing them? Have they been snuffed out? Can they shine? Once again, do you know what they are, right? Have you limited yourself that you can't even see them anymore? Can you open, kind of this victory pose? Can you open yourself up? Can you, are we so bent over and shrunk over that we can't even, begin to recognize? And so, taking that posture and again, our thoughts are so powerful, and they are going to limit or expand what we do. And so really beginning to say, God, what is it? Who is it that you knit in me? You knit vanilla in me. You didn't knit the vanilla in me, but you knit mint chocolate chip in me, that's my taste. Yeah. And that's what, and so I resonate with that. And so, standing up proud for who that is, you can't bear God's image well, in essence, if you don't know, right?
If you don't know, and Jesus says, don't put your light under a bushel, right?
Right.
But some of you are married to a bushel. Like you put your light out there and you say, this is who I am. And they say, stop being so assertive. Stop being so smart. Stop being, who do you think you are? I don't think I'm anybody but me, but I want to let my light shine. And don't let Satan blow it out. Don't let someone put a bushel over your light. And these are lies that as women, as Christian women, I hope that's mainly who I'm talking to and attracting, because I'm going to talk in that language. But as Christian women, we've been taught to dumb ourselves down so that we don't threaten the ego of a insecure, unhealthy person, husband, if they're insecure and unhealthy. I'm a pretty successful woman. I wasn't always so, but I am so grateful that my husband applauds my success, applauds my efforts, says, hey, if you're an oak tree and you end up bigger than me and bushier than me, go for it. That's who God called you to be. I'll water you. I'll help you to be all that God wants you to be. And I want to help him be all that God wants him to be. This is the healthy marriage. It's not someone squashing you so they don't feel threatened by your questions or they don't have to be accountable or responsible. That's enabling dysfunction to continue. And ladies, you're not going to change him, but you can change you. And so who is the one who's to guard her heart above all else? For it is the wellspring of life. You are. Who's the one who's to take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ? You are. Who's the one who's to renew your mind with the truth so that you know, as the psalmist did, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I was knit together in my mother's womb just as I'm supposed to be, and my soul knows it full well. That's stewarding you. And in the Christian community, in the Christian church, we have not been encouraged as women to steward ourselves well. We've been told that's selfish.
Right. Right.
Which is another limiting belief.
There you go.
It's selfish for me to take care of me. I should always be thinking about something else first.
Yeah. As you were saying that, Leslie, I was really kind of thinking too, so oftentimes, if you spend much time listening to you and your podcast, not podcast, excuse me, Facebook Lives and stuff, and you're teaching, you're always kind of using this phrase, this is your work to do. I have to be honest with you, even as a therapist, I was kind of at first when I heard that, it's like, my work to do. What is my work to do? And now it's become so clear, lady, that this is your work to do, to discover who did God knit me to be. That I need to find that out. I need to discover that. I can't just take it face value because someone said, or someone said no. As you were kind of explaining in one of your videos about someone, not coloring outside the lines, right? That their parents spoke into their life early on that they weren't a good artist, or they weren't very creative, or they weren't very good at coloring. And she believed that so much of her life, right?
She continues to believe it. I just sent her a picture. Of a picture I did. I'm drawing. I should show you some of my new paintings, but I'm taking some classes and I'm creating some new ladies. And she said, "Oh my gosh, I can't even draw a stick figure." Yes, she could. She saw me at the beginning. I have improved, not because I'm a great artist by nature, but I can learn to be a better artist, and I can practice that. And that is your work to do. Exactly. Let me phrase something two ways, and you tell me how you as a woman, and all of you in the chat, I want you to see this. If you're in a destructive relationship with someone, it might be your husband, it might be your son, it might be your neighbor, it might be your boss, it might be your mother, whoever you're in this destructive relationship with. If you're saying to yourself, how do I get them to change so they don't keep hurting me? That takes a lot of energy, and you're not going to have much success because you don't have a lot of control over another person. What if you said to yourself, what do I need to learn in order to stop letting him hurt me? Right? What do I need to do differently? That's your work to do. Right. That's your work to do. You can't do someone else's work. What do I need to do to get my husband to eat healthier? I can cook healthier. I can shop healthier. I can't make him eat healthier. What do I need to do to eat healthier? I can do that. That's your work to do. And so often, especially when we are living with someone who we would call a bad guy, a villain of the story. So if we think about our life as a story and there's a villain in our house, we're all about getting rid of the villain. How do I change the villain? How do I convince the villain not to be a villain? Instead of saying, what do I need to do to not be victimized by the villain anymore? That changes your story. Now you have agency. Now you have efficacy. Now you can begin to do your work to do that.
Exactly. The one line that you use there, how do I get them to? I mean, if I could, put that on a neon sign for you all to be able to really, when you hear yourself saying that, that is your, that's your wake up call. Like, oh, here I go, focusing on them and not focusing on myself. Mm-hmm. Right. And so oftentimes, I mean, that is the, that's the line that we all hear. We even say is because we want something on the other side of us to change, and the truth is, if you've heard Leslie's story, the truth is, that if the person on the other side of us would change, it would be better, that there's often harm, or there's often, a lot of discord. And certainly if some behaviors or thoughts or beliefs changed on the other side, there would be a difference, right? But like you said, we have no power or agency over it. Plus, it's actually not our responsibility to change it. It belongs to them, and it's their responsibility. And so our work is to do, as you said, is to say, I just said it. How can I get them to change? Bing. That's my light bulb moment to realize my focus is in the wrong direction. What do I need to do in order to change? And how have I limited myself in this, saying, I can't change myself. I can't change. He needs to change. What is that limiting? It'll never work. It'll never, whatever, that may be. And so, but really listening, I think that's a really, really important phrase, ladies. I really want you to pay attention to that. How do I get them to, that's your key phrase to go, oops, stop right there. Stop. Turn around and focus on myself.
Yeah, right? It's an energy waste. It's an energy waste for you to focus on changing another adult person. Right. An energy waste. Even with your children, it's sometimes, you're not going to get them to do what they don't want to do.
Right.
So for those of you, some of you are asking some good questions, and we're going to go to the question in just a minute. But how do I learn this? How do I learn this? And I would encourage you, the first step would be to sign up for our workshop that we're having in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks from today, Tuesday, December 7th. We are going to do 2 full-hour workshops where I'm just going to be teaching you via a different site so that you don't have to be worried that this is our public Facebook page. You can ask the questions you want to ask in as much detail as you want without worrying that your husband's going to see your feed. And so I'm going to be doing this workshop on December 7th at noon, same time right now. And then I'm going to also do it again at 7:30 Eastern time. And this is going to be an hour-long workshop of all just content teaching. We have a workbook to go with it. It's about an 8-page workbook. We also have 3 videos about I'm not good enough, I'm not doing enough, and I'm not enough. These are huge lies, but you believe them. These are limiting beliefs. I'm not doing enough. I got to do more. I'm not enough. I've got to have, I don't have enough. Right? And so these are lies that you believe that we're going to send you videos ahead of time of the workshop to begin to prime the pump for this transformation that God wants for you to have in your life. It's completely free. We want to give this to you generously. We are going to be opening up spots for our new 6-month coaching group. So those of you who want more intensive help on making it happen, you can have that help. But for those of you who just need to know the roadmap, I will give you the roadmap totally for free. So sign up for this workshop. You have to sign up to attend. We don't allow anyone in who hasn't signed up. So go to the link here, leslievernick.com/join workshop. The title of the workshop is Moving from Victim Mindset. I can't, I'm helpless, I'm powerless. It's all my fault. I can't do anything right. It's never my fault. However you frame that. And then moving to owner mindset. I can learn, I can grow, I can change, I can fix this, I can do more, I can solve my problem, and I have agency, and God has given me everything I need, including some hard things, to learn what I need to learn in order to be who He's called me to be. If an acorn didn't have the rain, if the caterpillar didn't have the cocoon, it's no fun being in a dark space. Maybe you're in a dark space right now, but God may have given you that dark space for you to pay attention. I'm doing a workshop in Dallas next week at the Village Church on depression, and I'm calling it an unwanted gift. No one wants to be in the darkness, but it's a gift to say, pay attention, wake up. Your life needs to change. You're in the dark place because it's telling you something. Pay attention. You need to change, not he needs to change so I'm not in this dark place. What do you need to do differently so that he can't put you in that dark place anymore? Those are the things that you need to do. So please sign up for this workshop or invite another woman that you think would be helped by it. Like I said, it's going to be an hour long. Both of them will be live. We'll be having an hour Q&A or an hour and a half. Usually it goes a little longer than that Q&A afterwards. You'll have a workbook to fill out as we go. So you will be able to take plenty of notes, and you will know 3 shifts in your mindset that need to take place in order for you to learn to write a different story for your life, that the end of your story turns out better than it's turned out right now. All right, I'm going to go to Q&A, but I'm just as a round robin rapid fire, put in the chat the lies that you think you believe, the things that are limiting you. I'm going to give you a couple. At least you probably have a couple. But how about this one? This one is one. It's all my fault. It's all my fault. That's a limiting belief, right? If it's all my fault, then I have to fix everything. It's not all your fault. But the same reverse of that is it's never my fault. So we have people who have victim mindset that it's everyone else's fault that I feel this way. It's never my fault that I reacted. It's your fault that you made me angry, right? That's a limiting belief because you can't take any charge over your life if you're not responsible for your own emotions, right? Or your own actions. It's not my fault I hit you. If you wouldn't have said that, I wouldn't have hit you. It's not true. It's not true.
Right. Right. Yeah. Some of the ones, I'm just a quitter. I don't finish well. I'm stupid, or I'm not smart. I don't often use the word stupid, but some people do. But I certainly have said I'm not smart enough, I'm not smart. I'm too shy. Or I'm just an introvert, therefore I can't. And I love that, those words there. What does that mean? What does that mean if I'm too shy? Therefore I can't be in relationship. Therefore I can't make new friends. Therefore I can't thrive because I'm shy. Is that true? Now we may be shy, but how do we do our own work so that, if indeed, I mean, not everyone's an extrovert, not everyone's shy, right? But we were hardwired for relationships. So what is, in a sense, your shyness or your introvertness? How will you grow in that place? And the same thing is true for extroverts. I'm not necessarily a wild extrovert, so to speak, but I'm probably more extroverted. I would say I'm ambiverted, than I am shy. But on some level, even when I'm doing groups or classes with women, sometimes I say, now extroverts, let's give our introverts a moment to speak, right? So it takes work for an extrovert to calm themselves down. And I have to believe that my voice doesn't have to be heard every single time, right? And so that we can let the shy one speak. So, I'm too shy can be a very limiting belief, right? That we don't speak up. We're not heard. We're not represented well, And so your work to do is how will I step out just a little bit, and still maintain who God created me to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? I'm defective.
What? I'm not attractive. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not attractive as one, definitely. I said I'm not. I'm defective.
I'm defective. Yeah. I'm damaged goods because this happened to me. Right. I was raped as a child, so I'm damaged goods. That's a huge one. That's a limiting belief. If you believe you're damaged goods, then you don't show up, do you? Because I'm damaged. I'm defective. I'm something's wrong with me. And so you don't show up in your full self. You don't even become your full self because I'm damaged, I can't be like Johnny Erickson Tata. She's damaged in some way. Her body's damaged. She's in a wheelchair. But look how she shows up. Look how she shows up. I mean, she shows up in who God made her to be, and a huge spokesman for his purposes and his glory. So she shows up. She doesn't just sit in, oh, my life is over because I did something dumb in a stupid driving accident. And look what happened to me. And my life is a waste. She doesn't say that to herself. So that she has her limitations, like you said, realistic limitations. She's in a wheelchair. That's not changing just because she wants it to, but she lives to her fullest potential, even within the confines of the boundaries of her body. And I think that's part of learning to do that and not letting another person, her wheelchair limits her body limits her, but it's not her mind that limits her. It's not God who limits her. And so it's so important that you not let another man limit you or another person. I see so many people on the feed, saying that part of this lie is that another person has given you a definition of who you are. Yeah. And I just want to put out there that it might not be true. You know what my mother said to me? She said she wished she never had me. She said, I have no sparkle in my eyes. She said, I'm not ever going to amount to anything. And I'm going to show you a picture at the webinar of me as a 10-year-old girl with 2 chipped teeth that she knocked out in a fit of rage and sitting at my school desk. And I don't have any sparkle in my eyes. I have absolutely no sparkle in my eyes. So she was right, but she killed that spirit, right? By her cruelty and by her abuse. And God is the one who said, I created you with sparkle in your eyes. Bring it back. Bring it back. And so this is part of the healing that we want for you to have, because so many of you have been beaten down. And with this last year of COVID and the isolation that's still happening in the churches and not getting together like we used to, maybe you don't have any fresh air in your mindset. You haven't been too tired to read the Bible and you're just alone and isolated. And we want you to get together. Just being in the feed here, I think, is so restorative because you're not alone. You see other women struggling with the same thing. You are not defective or damaged goods. You might not be believing the full truth, but this is why you're here. God called you to be here so that you can learn the truth and the truth will set you free. And that is our job here, to help you do that. So I'm going to go to the questions now. And a lot of you put limiting belief lies in there. We don't even recognize we're believing a lie.
Right.
We don't even recognize it. And that's why the first step is just to start learning, without shaming. So one of the things that I want to close with before I get to the questions is that sometimes when we start to see more clearly. Like maybe you get on the, like today I got on, I feel like I'm getting fatter. And so I got on the scale because I haven't been weighing myself lately and I've gained 3 pounds. So I am getting fatter, right? So sometimes when we see the truth and we think, oh, what's wrong with me? Like we start beating ourselves up instead of saying, oops, my feeling about my body is true. It is getting fatter and it's all going right here to my belly. So what am I going to do to take control of this, right? Instead of beating yourself up over what you see, this is really important. Whether you see stuff that's depression is an unwanted gift. What do I need to pay attention to? What do I see in this marriage? Wow, I'm married to someone who wants to take my lights out because it threatens him. What am I going to do about that? Mm-hmm. Just be curious about what you see and sit with it in a good way instead of beating yourself up. All right. Don't beat yourself up for what you see. See it as a gift that God is opening your eyes to the truth. And sometimes the truth isn't pretty, but it will set you free.
Amen. Wow.
All right. So let me go to some questions. I have this belief that I need, with a capital N-E-E-D, my husband. And that if I ever choose to lay down boundaries, he will leave and I will crumble. How can I start moving past this?
Read it one more time. Read it one more time.
I have this belief that I need, capital N-E-E-D, my husband. And that if I ever choose to lay down boundaries, then he will leave me and I will crumble. How can I start moving past this belief?
Yeah. A pretty limiting belief.
Yeah.
I mean, it renders her powerless.
And it renders you as an infant.
Right.
So hear me now. I don't mean this insulting ways, but the only one who N-E-E-D someone is an infant. Like an infant can't survive without their mother. Right. And so if you are telling yourself that, then what you're saying to yourself is that you haven't grown up. Now, I don't know whether you have or you haven't, but maybe you haven't. And I think a lot of Christian women haven't. So part of my ministry is to help you grow up. I'm going to be the mom who says, hey, you don't need my breast anymore. You need to get the spoon and put it in your own mouth. Right? This is your work to do, to grow up. And so I would say, don't worry about your marriage right now. Take care of you in saying, if I'm at such a place that I am so dependent unhealthily on another person for my well-being, then I haven't grown up enough to take responsibility for my own well-being. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't hurt when you break up a marriage, or a marriage doesn't, if my husband left me, I would be hurt. If my girlfriend left me after a 25-year friendship, and it was very painful, but I didn't need her to be in my life for me to be okay. I wanted her in my life, but I didn't need her to be in my life. There's a difference. When you're in a healthy position, you want people in your life because you love them or enjoy them or, value them. But if they choose not to be in your life, or you choose to have some boundaries because they're toxic, you're okay. You can deal with that. You can deal with the pain. You can deal with the hurt. You can deal with the loneliness. You have those resources because you're an adult. You know how to do that. And so this might be your wake-up call to say, wow, I haven't fully grown up yet, that I've been using my husband sort of as a baby sucks on a mom's breast, as a feed me, take care of me, and I haven't learned to take care of me. And all of you who are moms know that if your child grew up and wanted that from you, you would know that they're not healthy, that they're not in the place that they need to be. And unfortunately, Christian teaching has sort of kept women in an infantile, dependent position. So don't blame yourself for that. Just wake up and say, whoa, I'm putting too much of my well-being in another person's basket.
Right.
And
one of those questions are, is that true?
Yeah. Maybe it's not even true. Maybe if he left you, you'd find yourself a whole lot stronger than you think.
Right. I mean, you've shared, a story, of one of your relatives passing away, and, your brother being in kind of a rather dependent relationship, and, he lost his wife, how he really grew up in that moment.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great story. And I'll share it. My brother lost his wife suddenly. He came home from work and she was dead on the floor at 45. And he was very dependent on her. She did everything other than he worked. But she did everything. She did the banking, she did the computers, he would work, and he was a good guy, took care of the house and stuff, but he didn't take care of anything. He wasn't in charge of anything. Right. And there she was, and he had 3 kids, and he was terrified. But 10 years later, He is the most amazing man that he would have never, ever become had that not happened to him.
Right.
So she, in her dysfunction, kept him small. They married at 18, she was in charge. She's the one who grew up. He's the one who just stayed at 18. Mm-hmm. And losing her forced him to become 45 pretty quick and learn how to do the things he didn't know how to do. And guess what? He can do them pretty darn well. He's a really good dad. He's a really good man. He's a very unbelievably godly man. And just this summer, when we were taking care of my stepmom when she was dying, many of you know that story, that we were all together. And I was just dumbfounded by the kindness, by the maturity, by the graciousness, by the strength that he displayed as a man, which he would have, and he gained that all in 10 years, and he would have never gained that had that not happened. A terrible thing. Right. But it pushed him to grow. Right.
Quite incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks
for this woman. It's like, what's your next step? Mm-hmm. Really say, kind of really asking yourself, is that true that you need him? Yeah. I think you want him, mm-hmm. but if you got yourself in a place that you're so dependent, mm-hmm. And so, what are the next steps that you need to take to, gain your own independence so that you can be in a wanting relationship rather than a needing relationship?
Yeah. And I think all of us have to face that as women. So when I was 25, I think 26, I was pregnant with my first child. We found out my husband had very serious cancer. And at that moment, I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to make sure that I'm in a place where I could always support me and my child if something is probably going to happen to him. That's where we were at the place. And thankfully, he's still here 45 years later. But, that was a real reality check in my young life as a wife, that I can't depend on him to take care of me financially. I have to make sure I can take care of me financially so that if something happens to him with his health, I'm not going to be, stressed out by all of this. Right. And so I think that's really important. And maybe some of the people are putting in the chat, think about what your life was before you were married. Maybe you did this is fine. Maybe you did just fine. Like you were a fully functioning adult and you lost some of that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's a great thought.
Yeah. All right. My husband and I have been operating from a marriage that feels more like roommates and partners who love each other. We've been married 12 years. I wonder if this is normal marriage stuff. I always thought that it would feel more alive than this. Is this just an unrealistic expectation?
It's certainly a disappointment,
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of my questions would be a little around, I'm trying to focus a little bit around the limiting belief. Is there a limiting belief there for her? Is there a lie that she's telling herself? And I think when, I'd be curious if there was a coaching or, how they think they got to that place, no doubt. But nonetheless, they are here. And so, how would she take charge of that, and speak up and best represent herself in that moment? And there may be a place where, there's a place where she can express herself, represent herself well. And it is what it is. And so what would she do with that next? Right. And so, we can either sell into this is the relationship that she's going to have, which would be a very disappointing relationship. Or, is she powerless, or can she be powerful to change her own outcome? She may not change the outcome of that relationship, but can she create a different outcome for herself?
Yeah. And I think that marriage is the reality is that Hollywood and Harlequin have fed us a lie about expectations of marriage, that he's going to be my soulmate, that he's going to fulfill me, that he's going to make me happy. It's all a lie. So it creates a lot of disappointment when I remember Beth Moore wrote in one of her books, she goes, I had all these beliefs about marriage and I woke up and I realized I was not Barbie and he was not Ken and we did not have a dream house.
That's cute.
And that's, I think, the fantasy that we have as women, that, Prince Charming is going to rescue us from all of our troubles and we're going to ride into the sunset and live happily ever after. That's not true. Right. But I do think that you could ask a curious question of your husband. And the curious question might be, hey, we've been married 12 years. Are you happy the way we're living our life together? Right. And even being vulnerable, saying, I wish we did more things. And I wouldn't just say, I feel like we live like roommates. I would just say, I'd like to see more sexual intimacy. I'd like to see more fun time together. I'd like to see more you and me time and not just be parents together. Those are things I'd like to see different in our marriage, you know, and see what he says, maybe without blaming or attacking or accusing. You can just discuss, what could we do to make it fun? What could we do to make it more interesting? What could we do to put some more spark in our life? And I think one of the things that we are misunderstanding about marriage is there's two components to marriage to maintain that marriage or to have a long-term successful relationship. And let me just say this, because we're not really talking about marriage, but nobody that I know, and I've been a marriage counselor for 40 years, and somebody's saying, how could you have a child at 45? I'm older than 55, okay? So the camera does get, I have a filter on my camera. It doesn't make me look as old as I am, but I am older than that. But I'm just kidding. No, I am older than that. But there is nobody who has an A+ marriage all of the time. There is no, that's not true. It's a Hollywood misconception of marriage. So hopefully you have some A+ moments, and probably if you have any long-term marriage, you have some D- moments. That's marriage. Most marriages hover around the C+, B- mark a lot of the time, right? Because marriage isn't meant to fulfill you and make you happy. Marriage is a partnership. That's sometimes hard, just like having children. You have children, and sometimes you have A+ moments, and sometimes you have D- moments. And most of the time it's okay, right? Most of the time it's okay. And it's not that you're sad that you had kids, but sometimes it's really, really hard, and sometimes it's really, really great. And you hang in there. And that's what marriage does. But you do have conversations about how can we create more A+ moments, and how can we diminish more of those A- moment or D- moments. But the other thing that's really important is that there's two aspects of marriage. Just like if you bought a brand new house, if you don't maintain that house, it doesn't matter how wonderful it was when you moved in. It's going to feel like a mess in about 2 months. If you don't take out the garbage, if you don't flush the toilet, if you don't sweep the floors, if you don't, you know, clean your sinks, if you don't, you know, wash your dishes, it doesn't matter how beautiful the house was to start with. It's not going to stay feeling good. And so when you don't maintain a relationship by, you know, confessing sins and dealing with stuff and talking and having fun together and doing those, if you're just parents, it doesn't feel as good. And it also needs repairs, because a house breaks down and so does a marriage. And if you don't know how to repair broken down stuff in a house and just neglect it or sweep it under the rug, that house after 25 years is going to look like a wreck. And the same is true with a marriage. So those are my 2 cents on marriage, but I would just have a conversation with your husband about that. I've tried going back to school, but school was never my strength. Every time it gets hard, my husband points it out, and then I quit. I guess I am so afraid to show that maybe I'm not smart enough to finish school, that I never go full for it. Is this a limiting belief? I think the limiting belief that you have is that hard is bad, right? So you have a limiting belief that when I hit hard, oh, that means I can't do it. So that's not true. Hard is part of your growth. If you don't hit hard, like who works out with styrofoam weights, right? If you're going to grow, you're going to go from 3-pound weights to 5-pound weights to 7-pound weights to 10-pound weights, 12-pound weights to 15-pound weights. I mean, hard is what builds your muscles. That's what the Bible says. Consider it all joy, my brethren, James 1, whenever you face hard, face difficulties, because you know that that's going to build muscles in your character. So perhaps your limiting belief was like Elise and I have, technology is hard. That means I can't do it. That doesn't mean you can't do it. Yes, it's hard for me to do it.
It's hard.
I can learn. I can push through hard. And when you push through hard, things that you never thought you could do, like me running a half marathon at 63 years old, or me climbing Camelback Mountain last year with some of my coaches, that was amazing that I could do that. But it was hard. And I couldn't have done it without the support of others. So I think that's really important. When you're in hard places, you need that camaraderie. You need that support, colleagues at school or colleagues in a group coaching program or whatever, to push you through that hard, because otherwise it's easy to say, oop, hard, I can't do hard. I don't do hard.
Right. Yeah. Let me just share just a moment here. I went back to graduate school when I was 46. And so, which means I hadn't really been in school for 20 something years, 25 years, maybe. And it was hard. It was really hard. And I was a B student. I wasn't an A student like Leslie. I was a B student. So, it was really challenging. And then to be at a, upper level in graduate school and I was in seminary at the time, and I certainly enjoyed the Bible. I didn't, study it, backwards and forwards, but now I'm in sessions and in classes with men who are going to be pastors, along doing kind of a double course, almost, alongside people who really, many of the students in my class had just graduated with, psychology degrees and all kinds of stuff. And I hadn't even touched that in 25 years. And so it was challenging. But I didn't have the belief that I couldn't do it. But I was really quite afraid, really was. I was very afraid when it got very challenging. But just as you said, I mean, one of the things I would have loved to have put on my diploma, my name plus about the 10 people underneath it that helped me get through graduate school. I did really not do it on my own. Sometimes it was my children helping me with technology. Sometimes it was, I hired tutors oftentimes, when I got into statistics, that was the math course, that I thought,
I still have nightmares about statistics.
I was like, and I did, and I passed it with a B. And so I'm so proud of myself, and so, but yeah, it got really, really challenging. It was very, very hard program. And, but yet I went into the thing, really with the I can attitude. I didn't know what it was going to take. And I just began to say, what is it going to take each time that I thought that my own academic limitations were going to run out? What would that mean? And so, it really meant that I had to recruit more people around me to help me get through that. And so, in those hard places, and I'm so glad you kind of focused on that, because we can really spread that out all over the place. That hard doesn't mean that we can't, right?
Or that it's bad. Or that it's bad. Again, hard. There's been some amazing stories of people who got through hard, and we're all inspired by them. We're all inspired by them. I mean, going back to Johnny Erickson Tata, hard, living in a wheelchair your whole life, that's hard. Right. Or other people who faced, an abuser and got through it and went to court and did other things, or they, faced the death of their child by an abuser or a car accident or cancer. They got through hard and they are better. And the Bible tells us that even when we go through hard and we suffer through hard, that we're better equipped to help others who are going through hard. And that's, I think, one of the beauties of our groups that you have here in my ministry, is that we go through hard together, and we hold each other's hands. We have a little mug together that says "Stronger Together." And I really believe that hard is meant to go through together. And the Bible says that we go through hard together. And if you don't have anybody to help you through hard, when I climbed Camelback Mountain, I had only hiked once before in my entire life, and I was well over 60. Camelback Mountain is called a dangerous hike. I mean, they have helicopters who come and take people off that mountain. And I didn't know that. Had I known that, I wouldn't have done it. But I didn't know that. But I had one sister in front of me who was younger, and another sister who was younger in front of me. And I just kept looking at their footsteps, and they went here and I went there. And we made it up and we made it down, and I didn't have a scratch. And you know what? At the end of that, I felt so good that I didn't let my fear get the best of me. Did I have fear? I did. It was a hard mountain. It was a really hard mountain. Right. But I knew that if I didn't put the boogeyman in my head that I can't do it, or that it's too hard, or that I'm going to die, which is very realistic, all I could say is I can do the next right step. Can I do this next step? And if I had gotten to a step that I couldn't do, I would have been realistic enough about that. But I could do the next step and the next step. And I just kept telling myself, if I have to call the helicopter to come and get me, I will. Right. That was always my out, that if I got to a step that I couldn't do, I had my cell phone and I would say 911, help.
Right. Yeah. And we are going to live in those limitations, but we're not going to live in limitations, unrealistic limitations, which we so oftentimes are doing.
All right. I would love to attend the workshop on December 7th, but I have to work. Will there be a replay? There will be a replay, but it's abbreviated. So you really want to show up if you can. Plus the Q&A is not recorded. So we don't record anybody's Q&A, so that if that's a confidentiality issue, that doesn't go out to internet world, so that you don't have that benefit of hearing that and see the benefit of this Q&A. So you really want to be a part of that if you can. There's 2 times, noon and 7:30 p.m. So my guess is you're not working on both of those times. It might be that you have to say to your kids, this is important to me. I know I worked all day, but this is important to me. I need tonight off, or give your kids to an overnight somewhere else, or all those kind of things that I know is hard, but you are important. You are important. And this could be a life-changing webinar for you. If you resonate with some of the teaching that we're doing here, and you know you need more of how to do this, I'm going to teach you. So we're talking about what you need to do right in this session, but in the webinar, I'm going to teach you how to do it. How do you move from this place of stuck to ownership of your life so that you can move forward? And I will show you the way how in this webinar. So if you can attend live and have the opportunity to be there afterwards for the Q&A, that would be ideal. Obviously, if you can't, you will get a replay if you sign up, but it's kind of an abbreviated replay so that we're, more hopeful that you'll watch it and it won't have the Q&A component on it. Mm-hmm. All right. I had a restraining order with my husband for 3 months. I was raising his children who lost their mom 6 years ago. After I restrained him from me and the children and went no contact, he restrained me. And then 2 months later, he served divorce papers. My friend asked how I would respond to his papers. I need to do so tomorrow. I knew I would respond affirmatively. My friend suggests you pray and possibly contest it. How would that look? Well, I hope you've contacted an attorney. So I'm not sure I can give, I'm sure I cannot give you any legal advice here. I'm not sure how he got a restraining order on you. So because restraining orders aren't given out like candy, so there had to be some evidence of you being dangerous to him or you being threatening to him and his children. You got a restraining order because you showed that. He got a restraining order. How did he show that? So that would be the question that you need to discuss with your lawyer. Was there truth to what he got a restraining order about? Did he have any kind of evidence or proof that you were dangerous or threatening to him and his children in order for him to get that restraining order? If that's not true, I definitely would protest that. I would definitely contest that. If it is true that you were guilty of, some things that he could twist. So for example, if he hit you and he held you and wouldn't let you out of the door and you pushed him and scratched his face, and he had a picture of that, probably you're going to lose. At least I would think that you're going to lose because you also reacted in a way that he could make it look like you were the aggressor, and you're not going to prove one way or the other to a judge. So the proof is in the picture. But if he doesn't have any evidence at all, I would talk to your lawyer about what to do and what that would look like on your long-term record and all of those kind of things. So that would be what my, so I would, yeah. And I don't know if she's saying contest the divorce. I don't think you would contest the divorce. I think you probably would try to get away from this person as fast as possible because he sounds like a dangerous man. And I don't know why I'm going to say this because it may be totally untrue, but his wife died 6 years ago and now he's, dangerous to you too. So I remember speaking at a church where the pastor, murdered his second wife, and upon an investigation, it turned out that he also murdered his first wife. So these are things that we see in the news. We don't want to see that about you, but I would be careful about ever thinking about reconciling with someone you've had a restraining order with. Anything, your thoughts, Elise?
No, I'm not. No, just no.
Okay.
No, thank you.
I am divorced and healing after a really rough marriage, and I'm so glad I'm out. But I can see how my beliefs were not better even after leaving a situation. I am worried that I will just repeat myself in a new relationship. How can I learn to heal in a healthy way? I don't want to get caught up in another dumpster fire of relationship.
Yeah, we don't want you to either.
Yeah.
We really don't. And you're asking really great questions. Like you have some awareness that, was there something that I didn't see going in before? Is there something that I'm, which is so important that, that you focus on yourself. Really, how can I get healthy? And what does healthy look like? And really beginning to know what that looks like and to define that. Do you have a voice? Do you know who you are? Are you aware of really kind of your own belief system and have you checked that, right? And so oftentimes, and many times that we see, some of our certainly our participants, our clients here, is that they'll, by their own admission, talk about people pleasing, right? And you said earlier, kind of like, oh, you like vanilla? I like vanilla too. You like chocolate? I like chocolate too. And so that we really are somewhat chameleons until we're in a relationship, and then we realize, hey, we're losing ourselves in the process, right? And then we start to stand up for who we are, and it really causes a lot of conflict. Really, we start better representing ourselves, right? And it brings on a lot of conflict, and we misrepresented ourselves going in. And we were very much a people pleaser, or over compliant in a place that we shouldn't have been, and or we weren't recognizing, we were excusing some behavior that we shouldn't have been excusing. We saw someone's character that we went, oh, well, and so, because we were caught in the moment of being in love or being adored, or, whatever that is, in those moments, and especially in those early stages of relationship, that we ignored really some red flags, right? And so I think that you're asking yourself some great questions, and then the focus is that you're going to work on yourself and really kind of say, hey, was there something, there certainly could have been something on the other side of the relationship that absolutely broke the relationship up. But was there anything in me that I need to correct before I enter into another relationship, that I'm not aware of? And that awareness piece is huge, right? Is that, gaining awareness around our own selves. And when we're always focused on others, it's going to be impossible to gain awareness on our own self and our own behavior. So I think you're asking all the right questions. And my hope is that you'll join the webinar and maybe join us in some classes to really be able to take a hard look at yourself and do your own work.
Yeah. I can't add much to what Elise said. I think you're on the right track of recognizing. And I think this is one of the unique things about my ministry with women who have been in destructive marriages. Sometimes we have been, I think, unfairly accused of blaming the victim. And we're not blaming the victim for being a victim. You're a victim. But we do have our own work to do. And I think my shift has been not trying to figure out him and, oh, is he a narcissist or is he a sociopath? If he is all those things, run. But what do you need to do to not get tangled up with another one? And I think that's the important question that you're asking. Yeah. And Elise made one perspective that we're the chameleon and we are too, much trying to be the vanilla ice cream he wants, instead of saying, wait a minute, I'm pistachio. Do you like pistachio? But here's another take on it. Sometimes we are pretty honest with who we are too soon. We've taken off all of our emotional clothes. I'm not going to go to bed with anybody before I'm not married. And I'm not saying you shouldn't declare some of those, or this is what's really important to me. And when you have a person who's a good actor and is a great love bomber, they can do that also. And you can think you're getting the kind of man who really resonates with your values. And how many of you have woken up after your honeymoon and said, this is not the man I dated? And his true colors come out and he just kind of manipulated you because he knew what was important to you, and he knew how to smooth talk you into putting your guard down because you thought he was like you, and he wasn't like you at all.
Well, maybe he chameleoned on you.
Yes, he did chameleon on you, but he was doing it in a much more manipulative way. As usually we as women are chameleon because we want them to like us. He's doing it because he wants to, entrap you. And so understand that especially sociopathic people are very good at being what you want them to be until they're not. Yeah.
Right.
Until they're not.
I have to step off for another session.
Okay. So, well, I'm going to hang out and answer a few more questions, but thank you so much for being here, Elise.
I enjoyed it so much. Always. Thank you. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, ladies.
So I'm just going to hang out for a couple more questions, and then I'm going to step off too, because I'm turning into Nana in a few minutes because my grandkids are off school and I'm going to take care of them, and we're going to bake cookies for the homeless. And that's what we're going to do today. So let's see. How to move from infant dependency, what church taught only the stay-at-home mom was acceptable. I so feel for all of you. I grew up in that culture too, the Bill Gothard culture, the homeschool culture. I was kind of the woman who didn't fit in because I always had in the back of my mind, if my husband dies, I have to be able to work. So I was always, a little working part-time. For 5 years, I didn't work at all. And I tried to be what they thought we should be. And I'm like, I feel suffocated. I can't just be a mom. That's not okay with me. I want to be a mom, but I don't want to be just a mom. And so it was really hard to kind of go against culture and that Christian culture of this is your calling. You should be fulfilled doing only this. And so I think it's really important for you to give yourself permission slips, permission granted to be different, to be who God called you to be. I'm so grateful that I did, because I wouldn't have this ministry if I didn't take those steps way back then. And, even the hard thing of my husband's cancer may have been partly for me, so that I didn't just get sucked into being a compliant, subservient, passive Christian woman that I was taught to be. And so this is really, really important for you, this wake up call that God, if we think about strong warrior women in the Bible, there were plenty. It's not like this is a new concept that, oh, this is new age or this is, wrong teaching. Look at the Old Testament. There were amazing warrior women. Deborah was a warrior woman. Queen Esther was a warrior woman. Vashti before her was a warrior woman. The midwives in Hebrew culture, I mean, they disobeyed the Pharaoh, for goodness sake. He said, kill all the baby boys, and they didn't. And then Moses' mother and Miriam were, and Pharaoh's daughter. Do you understand? Pharaoh's daughter knew she was breaking her father's rules. She rescued a Jewish baby out of the water. She knew what she was doing. She knew what she was doing. What a brave woman. We don't give her the credit as a woman to defy her father's orders and bring him into her household. She never covered up that he was a Jewish baby. Moses knew he was Jewish as he grew up. How brave is that? There are plenty of Proverbs 31 woman is a married woman. She's making her own living. She's doing her own thing. And her husband says she's an amazing woman. And Bathsheba, the woman who was raped by King David, was Solomon's mother. And she was the one who was coaching him to be a good man. And he's writing the book of Proverbs for men to be good men and how to find the right kind of woman. So there have been warrior women in the Bible, adult, intelligent, resourceful. Abigail, who was resourceful with David and went against her husband Nabal and did what she knew was right, even though her husband said no. So understand that the Bible is always affirming strong women. Mary was a strong woman. Priscilla and Aquila, it was a team, but she was a strong woman. And there is nothing ungodly about strength. In fact, the Bible says it pleases him to make you strong. And strength and dignity are her clothing. And because she wears them as her garment, she can smile at the future unafraid. Girlfriend, we live in a kind of scary future, both in our political world and the United States world, and maybe in your own personal world. Wouldn't you like to smile at the future unafraid because you know you have the strength to deal with whatever comes your way? That you know that God will give you everything you need for life and godliness, and you know that full well in your spirit? If this is something that is brand new to you and you're hearing this for the first time, really, I'm really asking you to come to the webinar because this will help you clarify and give you the roadmap of how to move forward to your next steps. Thinking is the way, part of the way, but I will give you a specific way to think and learn how to catch your lies in the webinar because this is so important for that you grow, and I want to help you grow. I want to help you not believe the lies that you've been taught, that we're second-class citizens created just to be a helper to someone else, that he's the real star and you're just, a servant. That's not who you are. That's not who God made you to be. He made you to be an equal partner, that we make each other better together when we're in healthy relationships, whether it's girlfriend relationships or in marriage relationships. All right. I feel so lost. How to find who God created me to be. Will the workshop on December 7th help me with this? Yes, it will help you with this, but let me just give you a step to take right now. There's two ways that you can discover, and I'm going to use food as a metaphor. Okay. So part of knowing who you are is like defining yourself. Like Arizona is Arizona because it has the state flag and has the state bird. It's got its state values. It's got its laws. We can open carry in Arizona. New York has very different laws. They define themselves differently than Arizona, right? So I want you to start defining yourself. Who am I? What do I like? What do I want? What's important to me? Now, that may not be important to someone else. And this is where we get insecure as women, like, oh, am I right? It doesn't matter if you're right. It matters who you are. So what's important to you? So maybe it's really important to you to be hospitable. It may not be important to your husband. That's a whole other issue. But define it for you. What's important to you? To be smart or generous or kind, or what are your core values and what are the core virtues that if you could have your way at your funeral and people would say, this is who Leslie was, or this is who you are, what would you want said about you, about who you were, right? What's important to you? Start there and then go to what do you like and not like. So if I were to go to a smorgasbord and I didn't like maybe an Asian, so I didn't really know what I liked or not liked, I would have to try some things, right? So I have found lately in this part of my life, I've always liked art. I've always liked doing crafts. I've never had time for it when I worked full time and was a mom. But now I'm really giving more time to painting. I like that. That's important to my soul. I like nature. I like taking walks every day. I like being in the sunshine. I moved here. I bought a house with a beautiful view so that I could look outside every day. I didn't care what the house itself looked like, but I wanted to have a view. So those are the things that I know I need. What do you need? What do you love? What do you hate? What do you want? What do you not want? And just start making a list of that. That will help you to get to know yourself. Just like if you went to a smorgasbord, try things. And you go, I don't like octopus. Don't like that. Right? Try different things and see what you like and what you don't like. What brings life to your spirit and what feels crushing. Like for me, busyness feels crushing. So I have to have good boundaries, because I could be busy with all kinds of good things, but I'm exhausted and cranky and depressed at the end of the day. I can't do it that way. Right? And so know yourself. And that's how you begin to understand. So there's an exercise that you could do at the end of every day and keep a journal. What brought life to my spirit today? So it might be giggles of a child. It might have been taking a walk in the sun. It might have been smelling flowers. It might have been working on a craft project. It might have been tidying up your home. So that I love order. I love order. I don't like living in messes, right? And I know that about myself. It doesn't mean that I always have that, but I know what I like and need, right? And what brought death to my spirit? Rushing around, sitting in, being busy but not productive, arguing with someone. What brought death to my spirit? What felt like death? And just begin to know yourself that way every day and see some patterns. And then you know what you need to do to feed yourself and what you need to start letting go of. All right, I hope that helps. How will you be addressing the submission principle and how to handle this in an abusive relationship? I won't be addressing that in this webinar. Submission doesn't mean you need to be a willing victim. I have a lot of YouTube videos on headship and submission, things like that, so you can go watch those. But this seminar is not about marriage. It's not about relationships, really. This webinar is about how to move from victim mindset to owner mindset. It's about you and your growth. I'm not really talking about relationship stuff in this webinar. I do other kinds of webinars all throughout the year on that, but I won't be addressing the submission issue in this webinar. So if that's what you're looking for, I would say go to, if you're in my Conquer group, go to the Conquer library. There's tons of stuff on submission in there. But if you're just somebody who's just come to us, go to YouTube, go to other Facebook Lives, look at my blog. I have a blog for 10 years, plenty of blogs I've answered on submission questions. Okay. Where does grace and mercy end in terms of emotional abuse where there is no change? Well, I think grace and mercy is misunderstood. It doesn't mean that the person doesn't have consequences, right? So grace and mercy can mean, compassion on someone who's so blind and stuck that they don't want to change, but it doesn't mean that they still don't have consequences. So if you were drunk or your husband was driving drunk and he hit a kid because he was driving drunk, and let's just take viewpoint one, he was truly repentant. I will never drink again. I'm going to go to AA. I'll pay the hospital bill of the kid, and the kid dies. Grace and mercy doesn't mean that God resurrects him because he's sorry. Sometimes consequences of our foolishness are permanent. The Bible says, what you sow, you reap. And I imagine that this man had plenty of other times to reflect on his alcohol problem, and he chose not to. And so God used this circumstance to give him an opportunity to wake up. That's grace, saying, hey, I didn't take your life. Wake up. You're crashing and burning. Wake up. And maybe in that moment he did, and that's grace and mercy. It doesn't mean the child comes back to life. But let's say the man didn't wake up. Let's say he kept drinking and driving, and the child doesn't come back to life. Grace and mercy doesn't erase reality. And I think this is where women have been fed a bill of goods, that somehow if we love someone, it's a kindness to let them get away with their mistreatment. But we wouldn't do that as mothers. In common sense, that if your child, let's say you have a ton of grace and mercy on your 2-year-old, that they're tired, they've had a long day, they didn't eat, they didn't get their nap. There's plenty of reasons why they're acting the way they're acting, right? But if that 2-year-old hauls off and whacks you in the face, I hope as a mother you would say, you may not do that. I love you and I know you're tired, but you may not act that way. But what is it about us women when our husband does that and they say, well, if you wouldn't have done this, or I'm tired, or I had a poor child, whatever excuse they make, they're allowed to act abusively. And we're supposed to just say, it's okay. Go ahead, hit me again. No, it's craziness. It's insanity. It's not good for you, and it's not good for them any more than it would be good for you to let your 2-year-old hit you when they're mad or hit their sister. We know that intuitively. And yet somehow we forget that in marriage. It's not true. You can have grace and mercy and still consequences, because consequences are reality. You broke my trust. You've cheated on me. You've lied to me. You've been unfaithful in every way. I have a lot of compassion on you, but I don't trust you. And the Bible says not to trust unreliable people, not to have enough grace and mercy to trust them again. Would you trust a man who molested your children just because he said he was sorry? No. Well, does that mean you're not merciful? No, it means you're not stupid. Use your brain that God gave you. Some people are not trustworthy, and the Bible doesn't ask you to trust them. Jesus didn't trust everybody, and yet he loved everybody. So we need to get our theological terms correct, because we have endured way too much mistreatment under the guise of being merciful. All right. How do you make big decisions with your spouse when there is no agreement or middle ground? That's a whole other topic. I probably won't have time to get into it, but I think standing your ground, and if it's an important decision to you, then maybe you need a mediator to talk about it, because just because you're the head doesn't mean you get your way all the time. That's not called headship. That's called selfishness in the Bible. And so a marriage has 2 people for a reason, because 2 heads are better than 1 always. And there needs to be some compromise or some discussion or some mutual values that are put forth that help you make a good decision. That's a win-win for both people. All right. Last question, then I'm going to go. After 16 years of marriage, I filed for divorce. I stayed in the marriage not only because of my faith and pressure from the Christian community, but because we have a chronically sick child. My husband was unfaithful throughout the marriage. The first known infidelity was with a single mom in our church. We did counseling for 8 years off and on. I'm still told to pray and reconcile. Now he doesn't want the divorce. And unfortunately, we're still under the same roof because our son is recovering from a transplant. Any idea? I think that you have biblical grounds for divorce if you want one. I also think that your husband has shown himself to be unreliable in keeping his word or keeping his vows, and trust has been broken. And so just like I said, sometimes the consequences of a severe, serious breach of trust is permanent. And that's why God says unfaithfulness, adultery, is a serious break in marital trust, and it isn't easily repaired. And so don't feel guilty if that trust is permanently broken. If my father, who I love, I found out molested my children, I would still love my father, but he wouldn't have access to my children. I would never trust him again, because you can't. The cost is too high, right? That doesn't mean you don't love someone. It means you can't trust them. They're not safe. You know, the Bible has wired our brain. Neuroscience has now proven this for 3 categories. And I'll just close with this. The first category, which is the very first thing that we go to, is safety. And the Bible has wired our brain for safety, right? Because we won't survive if we don't value our safety first, right? As human beings. And so our brain is always seeking a safe place. Are we safe? Are we not safe? And so if you're not safe, your brain isn't going to do anything else. It's not going to grow. It's not going to learn. It's not going to thrive. You're not going to become your best self if you're not safe. If a seed isn't safe, if it's not getting the nourishment, if it's being, battered around, or an animal, they're not going to grow. A baby who's not safe doesn't grow, right? They don't learn. They stay stuck. And so it's important that safety is valued. The Bible values safety. I've been reading through the Bible and noticing all the different places God talks about our physical safety, our well-being mentally, that's important to him, so that we feel safe. Because the next thing that our brain is hardwired for is love and belonging. Neuroscience shows this. A baby seeks love and belonging if they're safe, right? If they feel safe and mommy's not yelling all the time or daddy's not screaming all the time, they want to look at you in the eyes. They want to be held. They want to, even pets go for longing and belonging if they feel safe, right? They want to sit on your lap. They want you to pet them. They want that. We want that. And that's important. You need connection with other human beings. That's why we talk about this in our groups, that if you don't have a good connection at home, get connected to wise women who can help you through this, because you need connection and you don't want to have unhealthy connection because your heart is longing for connection. So you need connection and belonging. We all need that. And the third thing our brain is wired for is purpose. And that's what some of you are talking about now. Why am I here? Who am I? Is my purpose simply to be a maid and a sex object for my husband? Is that my only purpose? Is this what God created me to be? Is just a body to be used? Or is there more of what God put in me to do? Who am I? What's my purpose? And these are really important questions. And so in our groups that I run, we cover all these things. What is safety? How do we have safety? What do we do when we don't have safety? And so when you're in a relationship with someone who's broken your trust, you don't have safety. So it's hard to have love and belonging and have a relationship with this person when you know they've already betrayed you. Right? There's safety issues, emotional safety issues, if not physical safety issues with sexually transmitted diseases, all those kind of things. But there's emotional safety issues. I can't trust my heart to him. I can't trust his word to me because he's been unreliable. And the Bible says in Proverbs 25:19, those who put their confidence or their trust in unreliable people are stupid. It's like walking on a broken foot or chewing on a broken tooth. Don't do it. It only causes more harm, right? This is the Bible speaking, not Leslie, all right? And so understand that God knows how we're made and what we need. And if we walk in the truth and we know the truth, it will set us free from some of this unrealistic guilt and shame we feel like somehow my grace and mercy should erase consequences, or you shouldn't not trust this person. I don't trust this person. Then there's lots of other teaching around this that I could do, but we've been a long time here and I appreciate your faithfulness in hanging out here. Let me tell you when we're going to do our next Facebook Live. How about that and what the topic is going to be? Because we're doing a bunch of them this week with my coaches. And so let me get to my calendar and I will tell you when we're going to do the next one, if I can find my calendar. So I'm not smart enough to get a calendar on my bottom line, so I have to go through 3 steps to get my calendar. All right, so we're going to do Thanksgiving this week, and so no more Facebook Lives, but we are going to do one on, let's see, Tuesday next week. Next week on Tuesday, how do you respect someone you don't admire? How do you respect someone you don't admire? How many of you have been guilt-tripped with the book Love and Respect? And you're saying, I don't respect someone I can't trust. I don't respect someone who's a chronic abuser. I don't respect someone who lies to me. You don't, right? So what does that mean? Because really what they're asking you to do is admire them, and you can't. There's nothing admirable about them. But how do you respect someone you don't admire? So that's what the topic will be next Tuesday. It will be here at noon, the 30th. It'll be 1 week from today, same time. And I will be doing this with Coach Leanne. So Leanne, who's been on the feed all along, helping us, she will be here with me live. And we will talk about how do you trust someone you don't respect. Meanwhile, could you go over to the webinar sign up, leslievernick.com, join workshop. And if you know someone who might be really helped by the topic, how do you move beyond victim mindset? Poor me. Why is this happening to me? There's nothing I can do about it. I can't believe he did this. This is he's ruined my life. That's victim mindset. I can't. I'm hopeless. I'm helpless. To what do I need to learn from this? How do I grow from this? What do I need to change about me in order to not let this keep happening to me? That's a different mindset. And if you have that different mindset, you will have a different outcome to your story than if you have the first mindset. I'm going to teach you 3 shifts in your mindset that have to happen for you to get from here to here. And if you know someone who might benefit from that, give them the link to the workshop as well. It'll be December 7th at noon Eastern time and at 7:30. Both of them will be live with me. I'll be doing a PowerPoint teaching with a big old workbook that you can fill in the blanks if you want to, if you're that kind of person. I'm sort of that kind of person. So I want to be able to look at it later and study a little bit more. So if you're that kind of person and really want to get a hold of this concept, then please sign up for the webinar. You will not be able to attend if you don't sign up, and invite a friend who you think might benefit from it as well. All right. Take care. We'll see you next Tuesday, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know for some of you, it will be hard. So you will have to be really intentional at putting your mind on things that are good, true, right, lovely, because it's easy to focus on what's bad, wrong, hurtful, and sad. And so take some time to be thankful. in all things, not for all things, but in all things, because it will help you. Just like your posture helps you feel better, it will help you feel better if you change the channel from what's wrong to what's right. All right. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.